Real man out here, alive again. Go fucking progress. Speed. That's important. Speed. Go. Part 4, Chapter 1. Can this still be a dream? Raskolnikov thought once more. He looked carefully and suspiciously at the unexpected visitor. Raskolnikov in bewilderment. Sweet Dragoilov! What nonsense! It can't be! The visitor did not seem at all surprised by the outburst. Sweet Dragoilov, I've come to you for two reasons. First, I wanted to make your personal acquaintance, as I already heard a great deal about you that it is interesting and flattering. Secondly, I cherish the hope that you might assist me in a matter directly concerning the welfare of your sister, our daughter Eleonora. Without your support, she might not let me come near her now, since she is prejudiced against me. But with your assistance, I reckon on. Raskolnikov interrupted. You reckon wrongly, sweet Regalo. May I ask, did, did they only arrive yesterday? Raskolnikov made no reply. Sweet Regalo, it was yesterday, I know. I only arrived myself the day before. Well, let me tell you this. Rodion Romanovich, I don't consider it necessary to justify myself, but kindly tell me without speaking without prejudice. Hello, book पढ़ रहा हूँ. And with common sense, what was particularly criminal on my part in all this business? Raskolnikov continued to look at him in silence. Sweet Dragoilov, is it that in my own house I pursued a defenseless girl and insulted her with my infamous proposals? I am anticipating your thought, but you only to assume that I too am a man, and nihil humanum in a word, that I am capable of being attracted and falling in love, which does not depend on your will, then everything can be explained in the most natural manner. The question is, am I a monster or am myself a victim? And what if I am a victim and proposing to the object of my passion to love with me to America or Switzerland? I may have cherished the deepest respect for her and thought that I was promoting our mutual happiness. Reason is the slave of passion, you know. Probably I was doing more harm to myself than anyone. Raskolnikov with disgust. But that's not the point. It's simply that whether you are right or wrong, we dislike you. We don't want to have anything to do with you. We show you the door. Go out. Sweet Regailo broke into a sudden laugh. Sweet Regailo laughing frankly. But you are. There is no getting around you. I hope to get around you, but you took up the right line at once. Raskolnikov. But you are trying to get around me still. Swedragailo, laughing openly. What of it? What of it? This is what the French call bonneguerie, and the most innocent form of deception. But still, you have interrupted me. One way or another, I repeat again, there would never have been any unpleasantness except for what happened in the garden. But Fa Patrona, Raskolnikov rudely. You have got rid of Marfa Petrona too, so they say. Sweet Regailov. Oh, you heard that? Ooh, then. You'll be sure to, though. As for your question, I really don't know what to say. Though my own conscience is quite at rest on that score, don't suppose that I am in any apprehension about it. All was regular and in order. The medical inquiry diagnosed apoplexy due to bathing immediately after a heavy dinner and a bottle of wine. And indeed, it could have proved nothing else. I'll tell you what, I've been thinking to myself of late, especially on my way here in the train. Didn't I contribute to all that calamity, morally in a way, by irritation or something of the sort? But I came to the conclusion that that too was quite out of the question. Raskolnikov laughed. Raskolnikov, I wonder you trouble yourself about it. Svidrigailov, but what are you laughing at? Only consider, I struck her just twice with a switch. There were no marks even. Don't regard me as a cynic, please. I'm perfectly aware how atrocious it was of me and all that. But I know for certain too that Marfa Petrona was very likely pleased at my warmth. So to say, the story of her sister had been wrung out to the last drop. For the last 3 days, Marfa Petrona had been forced to sit at home. She had nothing to show herself in the town. Besides, she had bored them so with that letter. You heard about her reading the letter, and all of a sudden, those two switches fell from heaven. Her first act was to order the carriage to be got out. Not to speak of the fact that there are cases when women are very, very glad to be insulted, in spite of all their show of imagined indignation, of their show of indignation. There are instances of it with everyone. Human beings in general indeed greatly love to be insulted. Have you noticed that? But it's particularly so with women. One might even say it's only their amusement. It's their only amusement. At one time, Raskolnikov thought of getting up and walking out to finish the interview. But some curiosity and even a sort of prudence made him linger for a moment. Raskolnikov carelessly. You are fond of fighting? Sweater calmly. Sweet dry guy low calmly. No, not very. And Marfa Petrona and I scarcely fought ever. We lived very harmoniously, and she was always pleased with me. I only used the whip twice in all our 7 years, not counting a third occasion of a very ambiguous character. The first time was 2 months after our marriage, immediately after we arrived in the country, and the last time was that of which we are speaking. Did you suppose I was such a master, such a reactionary, such a slave driver? Ha! By the way, do you remember, Rory Romanovich, how a few years ago a nobleman was put to shame everywhere in the papers for having thrashed a German woman in the railway train? Well, as for the gentleman who thrashed the German, I feel no sympathy with him. But I must say that there are sometimes such provoking Germans that I don't believe there is a progressive who could quite answer for himself. No one looked at the subject from that point of view then, but that's the truly humane point of view, I assure you. Sweet Rigailo broke into a sudden laugh again. Raskolnikov saw clearly that this was a man with a firm purpose in his mind and able to keep it to himself. Raskolnikov, I expect you will not talk to anyone for some days. Svidrigailov, scarcely anyone. I suppose you are wondering at my being such an adaptable man. Raskolnikov, no, I'm only wondering on you being too an adaptable man. Svidrigailov with a surprising expression of simplicity. Because I'm not offended at the rudeness of your questions. Is that it? But why take offense? As you asked, so I answered. There's hardly anything I take interest in. He went on as it were dreamily. Especially now, I have nothing to do. You are quite at liberty to imagine, though, that I'm making up to you with a motive, particularly as I told you I want to see your sister about something. But I'll confess frankly, I'm very much bored. The last 3 days, especially. So, I'm delighted to see you. Don't be angry, Lorin Romanovich, but you seem to be somehow awfully strange yourself. Say what you like, there's something wrong with you. And now, too, not this very minute, I mean, but now generally, well, I won't. I won't, don't scowl. I'm not such a bear, as you think. Raskolnikov looked gloomily at him. Raskolnikov, you are not a bear, perhaps, at all. I fancy, indeed, that you're a man of very good breeding, or at least know how on occasion to behave like one. Sweet dry guy loaf, dryly with a shade of heartiness. I'm not particularly interested in anyone's opinion, and therefore, why not be vulgar at times? When vulgarity is such a convenient cloak for your climate, and especially if one has a natural propensity that way, he added, laughing again. Horrible. No, 20 seconds break. Look right there, keep it down, drink water, stay hydrated. Go. But I have heard, but I have heard you have many friends here. You are, as they say, not without connections. What can you want with me then? Unless you have some special object. Swipe right eye low. That's true that I have friends here. I have met some already. I've been lounging about for the last 3 days and I have seen them. Or they have seen me. That's a matter of course. I'm well dressed and Ricard not a poor man. The emancipation of the serfs hasn't affected me. My property consists chiefly of forests and water meadows. The revenue has not fallen off, but I'm not going to see them. I was sick of them long ago. I've been here 3 days and have called on no one. What a town it is! How has it come into existence among us? Tell me that. A town of officials and students of all sorts. Yes, there's a great deal I didn't notice when I was here 8 years ago. King of my heels, my only hope now is in anatomy. By Jove, it is. Raskolnikov, anatomy? Sudragai low. But as for these clubs, restaurants, parades, or progress, indeed, maybe, well, all that can go on without me. Besides, who wants to be a card sharper? Raskolnikov, why have you been a card sharper then? Sudragailov, how could I help being? There was a regular set of us, men of the best society, 8 years ago. We had a fine time, an old man of breeding, poets, men of property, and indeed, as a rule in our Russian society, the best manners are found among those who've been thrashed. Have you noticed that? I've deteriorated in the country, but I did not get into prison for debt. through a low Greek who came from Brazil. Then Marfa Petrona turned up. She bargained with him and bought me off for 30,000 silver pieces. I owed 70,000. We were united in lawful wedlock, and she bore me off into the country like a treasure. You know, she was 5 years older than I am. She was very fond of me. For 7 years, I never left the country. And take note that all my life she held a document over me, the IOU for 30,000 rubles. So if I were to elect to be restive about anything, I should be trapped at once. And she would have done it. You will find nothing incompatible in that. Raskolnikov. If it hadn't been for her, if it hadn't been for that, would you have given her the slave? Sudragalov. I don't know what to say. It was scarcely the document that restrained me. I didn't want to go anywhere else. Marfa Petrona herself invited me to go abroad. Seeing I was bored, but I've been abroad before and always felt sick there for no reason but the sunrise, the Bay of Naples, the sea. You look at them and it makes you sad. What's most revolting is that one is really sad. No, it's better at home. Here, at least one blames others for everything and excuses oneself. I should have gone perhaps on an expedition to the North Pole because I hate drinking and there's nothing left but wine. I've tried it, but I say I've been told Berg is going up in a great balloon next Sunday from the Yusuf Garden and will take up passengers as for a fee. Is it true? Raskolnikov, why would you go up? Swairagalo meditatively. Oh no, no. What does it mean? Is he in earnest? Raskolnikov wondered. Svidrigailov. No, the document didn't restrain me. It was my own doing, not leaving the country. Nearly a year ago, Marfa Petrona gave me back the document of my namesake and made me a present of a considerable sum of money too. She had a fortune, you know. You see how I trust you, Arkady Ivanovich. That was actually her expression. You don't believe she used it. But do you know I manage the estate quite decently? They know me in the neighborhood. I order books too. Marfa Petrona at first approved, but afterwards she was afraid of my overstudying. Raskolnikov, you seem to be missing Marfa Petrona very much. Svidrigailov, missing her? Perhaps, really, perhaps I am. And by the way, do you believe in ghosts? Raskolnikov, what ghosts? Svidrigailov, why? Ordinary ghosts. Raskolnikov, do you believe in them? Svidrigailov, perhaps not just to please you, though I wouldn't say no exactly. Raskolnikov, do you see them then? Svidrigailov looked at me rather oddly. Svidrigailov, with a strange smile, Marfa Petrona is pleased to visit me. Raskolnikov, how do you mean she is pleased to visit you? Svidrigailov, she has been 3 times. I saw her first on the very day of the funeral, an hour after she was buried. It was the day before I left to come here. The second time was the day before yesterday, at daybreak, on the journey at the station of Malaya Vishera. And the third time was 2 hours ago in the room where I am staying. I was alone. Raskolnikov, were you awake? Svidrigailov, quite awake. I was wide awake every time. She comes, speaks to me for a minute, and goes out at the door. Always at the door. I can almost hear her. Raskolnikov, suddenly excited. What? What made me think that something of the sort must be happening to you? At the same moment, Raskolnikov was surprised at having said it. Svidrigailov in astonishment. What? Did you think so? Did you really? Didn't I say that there was something in common between us? Raskolnikov sharply and with heat. You never said so. Svidrigailov. Didn't I? Raskolnikov. No. Svidrigailov. I thought I did. When I came in and saw you lying with your eyes shut, pretending, I said to myself at once, here's the man. Raskolnikov crying out. What do you mean by the man? What are you talking about? Svidrigailov ingenuously, as if puzzled himself. What do I mean? I don't really know. I really don't know. For a minute, they were silent, staring into each other's faces. Raskolnikov with vexation. That's all nonsense. What does she say when she comes to you? She say when she comes to you. Svidrigailov. She? Would you believe it? She talks of the silliest trifles and man is strange creature. It makes me angry. The first time she came right to the door. I was tired. You know, the funeral service, the lunch afterwards. At last, I was left alone in my study, lighted a cigar, and began to think. She said, you've been so busy today, Arkady Ivanovich. You have forgotten to wind the dining room clock. All those 7 years, I wound that clock every week, and if I forgot it, she would always remind me. The next day, I set off on my way here. I got out at the station at daybreak. I'd been asleep, tired out, and was drinking some coffee. I looked up. There was suddenly Marfa Petrovna sitting beside me with a pack of cards in her hands. Shall I tell your fortune for the journey, Arkady Ivanovich? She was a great hand at telling fortunes. I shall never forgive myself for not asking her to. I ran away in a fright, and besides, the train will rang. Then today, I was sitting feeling very heavy after a miserable dinner from a cook shop. I was smoking, and all of a sudden, Marfa Petrovna came again. She came in very smart, in a new green silk dress with a long train. Good day, Arkady Ivanovich. How do you like my dress? Aniska can make like this. Aniska was a dressmaker in our country. A pretty wench. She stood turning round before me. I looked at the dress and then I looked carefully at her face. I said, I wonder you trouble to come to me about such trifles, Marfa Petrovna. She replied, good gracious, you won't let one disturb you about anything? To tease her, I said, I want to get married. Marfa Petrovna, she snapped back. That's just like you, Arkady Ivanovich. It does you very little credit to come looking for a bride when you hardly buried your wife. And if you could make a good choice at least, but I know it won't be for your happiness or hers, you will only be a laughing stock to all good people. Then she went out and her train seemed to rustle. Isn't it nonsense? Yeah. Raskolnikov, perhaps you are telling lies. Svidrigailov, thoughtfully ignoring the rudeness. I rarely lie. Raskolnikov, and in the past, have you ever seen ghosts before? Svidrigailov, yes, I've seen them only once in my life. 6 years ago, I had a serve Philka. Just after his burial, I called out, forgetting he was dead. Philka, my pipe. He came in and went to the cupboard where my pipes were. I sat still and thought, he's doing it out of revenge. But we had a violent quarrel just before his death. How dare you come in with a hole in your elbow? I said. Go away, you scamp. He turned and went out and never came again. I didn't tell Mufa Patrona at the time I wanted to have a service sung for him, but I was ashamed. Raskolnikov, you should go to a doctor. Suragalov, I know I'm not well, without you telling me, though I don't know what's wrong. I believe I am 5 times as strong as you are. I didn't ask you whether you believe that ghosts are seen, but whether you believe that they exist. Raskolnikov with positive anger. No, I won't believe it. Surailov, looking at him deliberately. They say you're real, so what appears to you is only unreal fantasy. But that's not strictly logical. I agree that gods only appear to the sick, but that only proves that they are unable to appear except to the sick. Not that they don't exist. What you said to this argument, ghosts are, as it were, shreds and fragments of other worlds, the beginning of them. A man in health has no reason to see them because he's a man of this earth and must live only in this life for the sake of order. But as soon as one is ill, as soon as the normal earthly order of the organism is broken, one begins to realize the possibility of another world. The more seriously ill one is, the closer becomes one's contact with that other world. So that as soon as the man dies, he steps straight into it. I thought of that long time ago. If you believe in a future life, you could believe in that too. Raskolnikov. I don't believe in a future life. Surailov said, lost in thought. Surailov, suddenly. And what if there are only spiders there, or something of that sort? He's a madman, thought Raskolnikov. Surailov, we always imagine eternity as something beyond our conception, something vast. But why must it be vast? Instead of all that, what if it's just one little room, like a bathhouse in country, black and grimy, with spiders in every corner, and that's all eternity is? I sometimes fancy it like that. Raskolnikov with a feeling of anguish. Can it be you can imagine nothing juster and more comforting than that? Srigailov with a vague smile. Juster? And how can we tell? Perhaps that is just, and do you know it's what I would certainly have made it? This horrible answer sent a cold chill through Raskolnikov. Surigailov raised his hand and looked at him and suddenly began laughing. Surigailov, only think, half an hour ago, we had never seen each other. We regarded each other as enemies. There is a matter unsettled between us. We have thrown it aside. In a way, we have gone into the abstract. Wasn't I right in saying that we were birds of a feather? Raskolnikov irritably. Kindly allow me to ask you to explain why you honored me with your visit. And I'm in a hurry. I have no time to waste. I want to go out. Surigailov, by all means, your sister, Avdoria Romanovna, is going to be married to Mr. Lezin, Pyotr Petrovich. Raskolnikov, can you refrain from any question about my sister and from mentioning her name? I can't understand how you dare utter her name in my presence if you are really Svidrigailov. Svidrigailov, why? but I come here to speak about her. How can I avoid mentioning her? Raskolnikov. Very good. Speak, but make haste. Surgailov, I'm sure that you must have formed your own opinion of this Mr. Luzin. If you have only seen him for half an hour or heard any fact about him, he is no match for Eudora Ivanovna. I believe she is sacrificing herself generously and imprudently for the sake of her family. I fancied from all I had heard of you that you would be very glad if the match could be broken off without the sacrifice of worldly advantages. Now I know you personally. I'm convinced of it. Raskolnikov. All this is very naive. Excuse me. I should have said impudent on your part. Surailov. You mean to say that I'm seeking my own ends? Don't be uneasy. Rodin Romanovich, if I were working for my own advantage, I'd have not spoken out so directly. I'm not quite a fool. I'll confess something psychologically. Curious about that just now. Defending my love for Avdovia Romanovna, I said I was myself the victim. Well, let me tell you, I have no feeling of love now, not the slightest. So that I wondered myself, for I really did feel something. Raskolnikov, true idleness and depravity. Srigailov, I certainly am idle and depraved. Your sister has such qualities that even I could not help being impressed by them. Oh, but that's all nonsense, as I see myself now. Raskolnikov, have you seen that loan? Surgailov, I began to be aware of it before, but was only perfectly sure of it the day before yesterday. 20 seconds break. क्यों बैठे हो खाली बजाओ ताली. You sunflower. Okay, ये वाला part use करना मेरे को याद आ गया. I remember just now that I have used this part of my face while speaking. So focus on that, Mr. Vinay. Almost at the moment I arrived in Petersburg, I still fancied in Moscow, though that I was coming to try to get Aurora Romanona's hand and to carve out Mr. Luzin. Raskolnikov. Excuse me for interrupting you. Kindly be brief. Come to the object of your visit. I'm in a hurry. I want to go out. Surgailov. With the greatest pleasure. On arriving here and determining on a sudden journey, I should like to make some necessary preliminary arrangements. I left my children with an aunt. They are well provided for, and they have no need for me personally. And a nice father I should make do. I have taken nothing but what Marfa Patrona gave me a year ago. That's enough for me. Before the journey, which may come off, I want to settle Mr. Luzin too. It's not that I detest him so much, but it was through him I quarreled with Marfa Patrona when I learned that she had set up this marriage. I want now to see Avdoria Romanovna through your meditation, and if you like, in your response, in your presence, to explain to her. In the first place, she will never gain anything but harm from Mr. Luzin, then begging her pardon from all past unpleasantness. I wish to make her a present of 10,000 rubles and so assist the rupture with Mr. Luzin, a rupture to which I believe she is herself not disinclined. if she could see the way to it. Raskolnikov, astonished rather than anger. You are certainly mad. How dare you talk like that? क्या हो गया भाई? Suryailov, I knew you would scream at me, but in the first place, though I'm not rich, this this 10,000 rubles is perfectly free. I have absolutely no need of it. If Avdora Ramanona does not accept it, I shall waste it in some more foolish way. Secondly, my conscience is perfectly easy. I make the offer with no ulterior motive. You may not believe it, but in the end, you both will know. The point is that I did actually cause your sister, whom I greatly respect, some trouble and unpleasantness, and so sincerely regretting it. I want simply to do something to her advantage if there were a millionth fraction of self interest in my offer. I should not have made it so openly, nor offer only 10,000 when 5 weeks ago I offered her more. Besides, I may perhaps very soon marry a young lady, and that alone ought to prevent suspicion. In conclusion, let me say that in marrying Mr. Luzin, she is taking money just the same, only from another man. Don't be angry, Rodin Romanovich. Think it over coolly and quietly. Surilov himself was exceedingly cold and quiet as he said this. As he said this, Raskolnikov, I beg you to say no more. In any case, this is unpardonable impertinence. Surilov, not in the least. Then a man may do nothing but harm to his neighbor in this world, and is prevented from doing the tiniest bit of good by trivial conventional formalities. That's absurd. If I died, for instance, and left the sum to your sister in my will, surely she wouldn't refuse it. Raskolnikov. Very likely she would. Suryailov. Oh, no, indeed. However, if you refuse it, so be it. Though 10,000 rubles is a capital thing to have on occasion. In any case, I beg you to repeat what I have said to Avdoria Ivanovna, Raskolnikov. No, I won't. Suryalov. In that case, Rodin Romanovich, I shall be obliged to try and see her myself and worry her by doing so. Raskolnikov. And if I do tell her, will you not try to see her? Suryalov. I don't know really what to say. I should like very much to see her once more. Raskolnikov. Don't hope for it. Suryalov. I'm sorry, but you don't know me. Perhaps we may become better friends. Better friends. Raskolnikov. You think we may become friends? Suryalov, smiling, standing up and taking his hat. And why not? I didn't quite intend to disturb you. I came here without reckoning on it, though I was very much struck by your face this morning. Raskolnikov, uneasily. Where did you see me this morning? Suryalov, I saw you by chance. I kept fancying there is something about you like me. But don't be uneasy. I'm not intrusive. I used to get on all right with card sharpers, and I never wore Prince Swirbey, and I could write poetry in an album. And I never left Mafa Patrona's side for 7 years, and I used to stay at the Haymarket in the old days. And I may go in a balloon with Bart, perhaps. Raskolnikov. Oh, all right. Are you starting soon on your travels? May I ask? Sweaterello. What travels? Raskolnikov. Why? On that journey, you spoke of it yourself. Surgalo, giving a sudden loud short laugh. A journey? Oh, yes, I did speak of a journey. Well, that's a wide subject. If only you knew what you're asking, perhaps I'll get married instead of the journey. They're making a match for me. Raskolnikov. Here? Surgalo. Yes, Raskolnikov. How have you had time for that? But I am very anxious to see Audoria Ramonona once. I earnestly beg it. Well, goodbye for the present. Oh, yes, I've forgotten something. Tell your sister, Marie Romanovich, that Marfa Petrona remembered her in her will and left her 3,000 rubles. That's absolutely certain. Marfa Petrona arranged it a week before her death, and it was done in my presence. Adoria will be able to receive the money in 2 to 3 weeks. Raskolnikov. Are you telling the truth? Surgalo. Yes, tell her. Well, your servant. I'm staying very near you. As he went out, Surgalo ran straight into resume in the doorway. Okay, finished. Real man. Don't run from his job. Today's full energy. And this stream 40 minutes have passed. Goodbye, you motherfuckers. And stream. Bang.